Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Real Chat Daddy Show. With that being said, we do want to say good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Real Chat Daddy Show. Our new show is the Real Chat Daddy Show with Dr. Philip. Love Hurts. Our new focus is now designed to talk to people on all levels about love, happiness, good energy, and what can we do to make a difference in our lives. Dr. Philip had to step away for a few moments, but he'll be back with us on the show in just a little bit. Sitting in as our very special guest co-host, she is joining us tonight. We just love and adore her. She is a book author, a mental health specialist, a all-around humanitarian when it comes to trying to help the efforts of other people. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show our good friend, the one and only Miss Sharon Rowe. What's up, Sharon?
Hi, Art. Thanks for
How are
having
you?
me. I'm great in yourself.
Good. Sharon, how have you been since the last time we've talked to the audience? You've had quite a few changes. I know your first book was a huge success, and now you've written a book that is basically a guide for people to learn how to take care of themselves better. Let's talk a little bit about the new book, because we're going to talk about it later in a little bit.
Well, you know what? To make a long story short, I did that in part because
Oh,
so
I'm sorry.
I,
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I lost my mom. I lost my mom unexpectedly, and so I can't do anything about that. However, that made me sit back and think, what can I do? And since I worked previously in the healthcare field, I wanted to be able to be resourceful for somebody else and help them. And so what I did was I wanted to share the tips that I learned along the way of what can you do to increase your health and prolong your health and prevent somebody from losing someone early, because a lot of times, unfortunately, a lot of people pass from something that if they caught early, it was very much preventable. So that was my catalyst for that, and kind of like purpose. I wanted to encourage people to prioritize themselves, because a
I
lot of
couldn't
times we
agree
take
more.
care of everything else, because unfortunately, if you do not take care of your health and wellness, you're going to have to take care of it on the other end. And so I would prefer for people to be proactive, and I wanted to share my tips. So that was the catalyst for that.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Well, that's why you're here tonight. We have so much to talk about, because not only are we going to share those tips, but October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And later on in the show, we're going to welcome advocate and survivor, Miss Yolanda Carter, and her wonderful organization, Beautifully Scarred. We're going to talk about how she founded that organization. She's going to share a little bit of her backstory, and just all of that is the crux of what's necessary for us to be able to talk to people in times like this. Let's bring in our co-host of the show. The show is Chat Daddy Show with Dr. Philip. And so we now have to bring Dr. Philip back into the fold. Good evening, Dr. Philip. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well. Went on a little technical journey, but I'm back.
Oh, I fully understand about the technical journeys. I really, really do. Yes, I do. Dr. Philip, how's everything going on with you this week? What's new? Happy birthday, Dr. Philip.
Oh, thank you. Well, that was
Ooh,
what was
happy
new.
birthday.
My birthday was Saturday. Had a really good day of self care and reflection, and an opportunity to just really take stock of the blessings that I have and really make plans for the future. So it was a great day. But what's new with me? Just the continued work that I do with people to see how I can step in and offer some support when needed, help them process things. I try to always be available to my community and our community so that they have a resource, because sometimes resources are very difficult to find. But what's new is being on the show tonight and having a really frank discussion about domestic violence if we can.
Yes, very good. I could not agree more, as well as different tips that people can do to just help their overall well-being when it comes to life. So, that's how that all works as well, too. All right, well, let's get started with tonight's show. I'm glad you both are here. It is October 15th, and believe it or not, here in the Chicagoland area, fall has set in. It really is a fall day here in Chicago, rainy, gloomy. People have turned their heat on. That's a question I wanted to ask both of you guys. Have you turned your heat on in your places of residency yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's funny. Yeah, my heat been on for a minute now. So yeah, but it's very low because I stay as they say hot. So I have air conditioners on, I have fans on, all that different stuff, right now. So but interesting. Okay, very good. All right, let's get into hot topics if we could. Hold on one second. So Halloween is 16 days away. Thanksgiving is 44 days away, and Christmas is 71 days away.
Mm.
With that being said, the holiday season is fastly approaching. At the end of August, if you went into certain retail stores, you were able to see holiday merchandise, not only Halloween, but fall merchandise, Christmas merchandise. Some of the big box stores, their section for the holiday is already up and running. So, my question to you both, are we rushing the holidays? And then I want to ask you both, being in the field of mental health and dealing with people, are we rushing the holidays and what effect does that have on people?
Mm. Well, I think we are rushing the holidays, and it's getting to a point now where it seems like one is right on top of the other. There's no separation anymore, and that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure for families. That's a lot of pressure for people to produce. It does have an impact on their mental health because sometimes you'd like to do things for your family and you can't. And the overwhelming feeling of you not being able to do something can take over and cause other things to happen. So sometimes I think if we could step back and just enjoy each holiday one at a time and process what's going on around with that day, and then move on to the next one.
Sharon, what do you think about that? Here you are, a mom. You deal with our young people on a daily basis. Halloween to me is a commercial holiday to begin with. But Thanksgiving and Christmas both have a huge impact on a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. What do you think about the holiday season, Sharon? And what do you think is the overall effect of the holiday season?
What you know what I think sometimes during the holiday season that some people, because they have experienced a loss, is not always happy, and so I think a lot of people experience what I would like to call seasonal depression around this time. The days are are shorter, it's darker sooner, and so because of that, I think that adds another piece to it. So to combat that, I think it's important that people have like a little resiliency plan in place so they can be on top of it because the holidays I think also bring about I think depression because of that.
To me, right now, with the economy being the way it is, with us just being 3 weeks away from election day, I would think that the retail market is rushing this because they are afraid of this economy right now. Things are at an all-time high. I know people that are trying to order things, and these things are taking forever to even be shipped and get here now. There's a shortage on certain things. So I think that also adds extra pressure because, again, if you're a parent, you have to buy your children things. If you have to make a meal for Thanksgiving for your family, I know for myself, it's just me. I end up going somewhere, a restaurant, whatever the case may be. But to me, the holiday season seems as if it could be a lot of pressure for people to perform, pay, and give to others. What do you all think about that?
There's a lot of anxiety around, like you said, holiday Halloween is more
I think you're
of a
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Wait, hold on 1 second. Uh, go ahead, Philip. What were you saying?
I said Halloween is more of a manufactured, holiday, but Thanksgiving and Christmas do bring up a lot of memories. And as she said, not necessarily good ones, but at the same time as let's say we're trying to process those feelings and memories, we're expected to perform and produce. And sometimes it's hard to work up the energy to be, happy around these holidays, and it's just it creates a lot of anxiety, and sometimes I don't know whether it's worth it for the person at times to try to produce and perform this way. Those holidays are meant to be enjoyed, but we really need to look at the people and see what are they going through, what have they already experienced, and what does this holiday really signal for them.
hmm I couldn't agree with you more. Ever since the death of my mother, which this marks the 25th year that my mother has been gone,
Mm.
my ultimate goal is to never spend any of those commercial holidays in Chicago ever again. Like I want to do Thanksgiving in Mexico. I would want to do Christmas in Hawaii, just to be somewhere else, another focus. I'd rather at this point, holidays like that bring me zero joy anymore.
Hmm.
And I just, you just kind of want to remove yourself from that entire situation. And Sharon, I think you understand this as well too. I was a mama's boy. You are a mama's girl. You still do a lot of things in reflection of your mother. What do you think about what I just said about all of this?
You know what? I think you're absolutely right. But for me, I tried to flip it. And just like yourself, that's what I did personally myself. For so many years, I was never here during the holidays. I was always gone somewhere because the holidays, for the last 10 years haven't meant the same. But I just think you have to reframe it. So now what I try to do is think about the happy times, because I think you can get stuck. You know what I mean? And you can get stuck in that past and try. So what I try to do is just look at it and hold on to those memories and put a positive spin on that. And so now I embrace the holidays and think about all the memories that and the legacy. I try to look at it from that standpoint. But I
Mhm.
also kind of think, I think that I think we have such a shift, and I think in how things are being done, and I think with the market it has really changed. I think they're trying to push everything earlier because brick and mortar is having a harder time, and so in order to get sales, I think that's why they push everything earlier so
Hmm.
they can jumpstart the sales, because the marketing is so different now than it was opposed to when back in the day, and they have to compete, I think, with so many other places, so you can't get caught up into that. That's what I think.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more. Dr. Phil, I do apologize. You are a mama's boy as well, too.
Yeah.
You have lost your mom, and really, I do apologize for that. I wanted to get your take on it as well, too, because, when you're a mama's boy, or whether you're the third child, the fifth child, whatever the case may be, the holidays change dramatically once you lose a mother and a father. But that mother, I think, is really important. What do you think, Dr. Phil?
I agree. Losing that mother is like a switch that's turned off that you can't turn back on again. And part of the challenge is how do you handle how do you handle the first few years? Because the first few years of holidays, the traditions are what you're missing. You're not only just missing the person, you're longing for that which was a tradition, that thing that you looked forward to, or even if you didn't look forward to it, you knew you had to do it. And I agree. I did the same thing that the two of you did. I traveled, I was away, I went to somebody else's house, I left town,
Yep.
I did whatever I could do to not think about it. But in the last few years, I have found that I actually enjoy being at home. And I've started, cooking and trying to do some of the same things my mother would do. I make sure her tree is up. So there's a lot of things, like you said, the legacy, the memories begin to comfort you, but then again, they also begin to make you laugh because I'll start looking at things and remembering comical things that happened around the holidays. They don't signal, just loss anymore. They are comforting and they're warm, and it feels good to remember, who burned the turkey or who brought the macaroni and cheese and forgot to put enough cheese in it, so they claim. So it's just a really good way once you can process the grief, especially for people who've lost a parent or lost a loved one, period. Once you can begin to process that grief, you can begin to look through and let those memories help you get through the holiday season.
Yes, I could not agree with you more on that. I did the flip side. So, right after my mother's death, I tried my best to continue the Thanksgiving dinners, the Christmas dinners. I wanted to make sure I perfected her cornbread dressing right down to the last seasoning in it. My mother made the most amazing chitterlings or chitlins, for those that indulge in those. And I, every Christmas Eve found myself making chitterlings, for the holiday meal. And now I don't care to cook. I don't care to look. Everything I do is a takeout container now. And I think my mother would be more happier with me being that person than to try to duplicate that, like I used to. So that's a growth thing when it comes to adjusting to losing a parent. And I think you both will agree.
I agree.
All right. Well, with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that Sharon was saying that retail and how they're really dictating the holiday seasons. Well, a major retailer, Walgreens, as you guys all know, on the corner of wellness and happiness, announced today that they're closing 1,200 locations
Mm,
across the United States.
mm,
And what's so funny is a couple of months ago, I had heard some rumors that a couple of Walgreens within the inner city of Chicago would be closing anyway. And so they announced today within the next 2 to 3 years, a lot of them will close up, but then they'll phase it out over a couple of more years of stores that will close. And this is all due to poor performance.
mm.
I'm sure it has a lot to do with theft, things like that. And I know I grew up on Walgreens. You both grew up on Walgreens. Sharon, what do you think about this announcement today that they'll be closing all these Walgreens?
Well, you know what I think personally is that it's just a shift in the market, because I would say, now with AI, I think what they're trying to do, because we have places like, say, with Amazon, I think a lot of people are going to online. And because I think they're trying to shift the purchase to a different way of doing things. And so if they close their store, that's going to shift, probably going to shift a lot of the sales into, online sources. And so that's going to give places like Amazon, or, places that have that's already set up for that, a huge, push, I think. And so it's kind of
Mhm.
like, I just feel like it's forcing you to move on and get with the times. So if you don't adjust, you're going to get left behind, so to speak, which is sad, because my generation, I like the personal touch and, the people touch. But I think the way it is, that's where, the way the market is moving is it's getting more animated and it automated. And that's just what it is.
hmm Philip, you and I were both having a conversation in the green room before we started the show tonight that, you and I have become gentlemen of, can I order it? Can I press and click? How soon can it be here? Can you take me there? All of that. And what's so funny is that prior to this, I would have never thought about that. I
No.
always thought I had to own a car. I always thought, oh my God, why would I let somebody deliver something to me? During the pandemic, I even went out and still bought my groceries because I do get a certain joy in grocery shopping for myself. I just don't like other people grocery shopping for me.
Mhm.
And when I go to the store, I look for different bargains, deals. I might buy something that's marked down, whatever the case may be. I've always been that type of person. But I know you, Dr. Phillip, you press click, and wait for it to come to the door. What's your thought on all of this?
Well, the times have changed. I mean, I've even got to the point that the car I have, I probably clicked on it and went and got it. When we were younger, you worked downtown in an office and you went into Walgreens for a bag of chips, some gum, a couple of cans of pop, some pens. I mean, Walgreens was something that was just part of your normal. I mean, it was sundries. They had those little things that you didn't know you needed until you needed them. Well, now with the culture changing and most people are not most, but a large number of people are working from home, those stores are very expensive to operate. And if the merchandise is not turning over fast enough, then they're not making a profit. Most of your major insurance companies are coaxing their members into having their medication mailed to them, so there's no need to always have a pharmacy around. So it's just like she said, the times have changed, and it's the new habit is beginning to crystallize. For a while, people resisted, but now they're buying into it. And like you said, you can click on something from Amazon, and depending on what you get, if you order it early enough in the morning, it'll be there in the evening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you're right about that. I'm going to tell you a funny story. So, really, I go to Walgreens for my medication, just like most people. I do enjoy buying certain things from Walgreens. When I do my shopping trips, I may shop at a Walgreens out of distance, whatever the case may be. I do love it. I've never before in my life seen such foolishness as the pharmacies now. The
Oh,
Walgreens near my home, the pharmacy is so bad. You stand in line for hours. The workers standing there patting their heads, popping gum. It is just ridiculous. So I recently had my prescription transferred to another Walgreens, which I thought was going to be a better Walgreens, right? I go to get the medicine at the better Walgreens, and again, I run into people of other ethnicities that had the same behavior as the one down the street from my house. And I was flabbergasted. So I said, now what do I do now? Do I transfer my prescriptions to Costco? Do I transfer them to something online? There's even a shortage of pharmacy techs. And I
yes.
remember when so many people in my family and in my neighborhood, they were proud to become pharmacy techs as well as pharmacists. I know women who belong to the Black Female Pharmacists Association. I
Hmm.
know male pharmacists, but I just think customer service also is destroying the business of a lot of these places. And Sharon, you mentioned you are a customer service type of woman.
Mhm.
Can you hear
But I think, like you said, a lot of that is so true. Yes, I can you hear me now? Yes,
me?
I
Yeah.
believe that is so true. That, but again, I believe the time is changing and the way we do service. I think a lot of this is a result of the pandemic, and they realized that they could deliver things a different way. I think this is a shift to get people to do mail order, or, like I
Mhm.
said, to go to a different medium as far as like with Amazon or something like that, because it's more cost efficient. And then it takes, like you said, the brick and mortar is so costly that this is way more efficient. So I think this is just the way of the time. However, just like yourself, when you said you like going to grocery shop, I personally like the personal touch.
Mhm.
That's just me. But the newer generation is different.
And really, what they're doing is, if you think about it, they discovered during COVID because, of course, the pharmacy techs and everything basically kind of sort of disappeared because they weren't going to be standing across the counter during this time when you could catch something that might cause you to expire. So they realized that, we can still make this work without having all these people. Then remember, not that long ago, there was a pharmacist shortage. And they figured out, Well, if we centralize the locations where the medication comes from, we don't need a pharmacist at every store, so we don't have to pay these salaries and benefits. So corporate America has always also found a way through this artificial intelligence and this new way of thinking and this social anxiety that a lot of people already have. They found a way to bring more profit through to the bottom line. And it's just like what people are imagining will happen as artificial intelligence comes into play. There's less need for the human touch. There, you're going to have so many things that will just be clicked on and delivered to your home. And soon, if they're maintenance drugs, they're going to come automatically. You won't even
Right,
have to click on them.
right, right, which is very true. So I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So we let's go to fast food for just a little bit. A dear friend of mine is a big wig with a major fast food chain, national chain. He showed today on Facebook where in one of his restaurants they installed this machine called Flippy, and Flippy is now taking the place of the grill worker. And the funniest thing is, 4 years ago at the restaurant show, you guys know I go to that show every year faithfully, a robot actually made our entire meal. We walked up to a keypad like this, ordered what we want, was told pick your food up at locker number whatever when it was ready, and a robot, a machine made everything hot, delicious, perfect, all of that. And he showed today where this Flippy machine was now making the burgers, replacing a human. And I
Yep.
think that's going to start more and more in fast food business as well too.
Yeah, because they can't find people. And all I'm going to say is everybody start watching the reruns of the Jetsons. Then you'll know what's coming next. Because basically, all of these things, you've got driverless vehicles, you've got no need, no touch this and no touch that. It won't be long, like you said, before you go to a restaurant and somehow this robot will bring this prepared meal out to your table along with beverages and silverware, and you'll never hear or see a person.
Well, now that you're saying that, there are some restaurants in Chinatown that do have that right now, and it's considered gimmicky, cute, that type of thing. But yes, there are robots matter of fact, I'll have to take you both there. They have the best ramen, but there are robots that come, make sure you're okay. There might be there's a human that bring you the hot food, but the
Mhm.
robot brings you silverware, a
Everything.
refill of your beverage, anything that you need and want, the robot does all of that. And you're right. I'm a huge fan of the Jetsons and used to always say when I was little, I wanted a life like the Jetsons. And believe it or not, I live in a house now where everything is controlled from here, right here. Everything is controlled from right here.
And like you said, that.
Power went out and the Wi-Fi went out. I couldn't do nothing, y'all. Couldn't flush the toilet, nothing. Okay.
Mhm.
Wow.
Right.
But just like you said, there's a restaurant I know of right on State and I think it's Chicago Avenue by Loyola, and you just sit down at the thing, and the food passes you, and when it's what you want, you reach up and you take it off and you set it down, and it you can swipe your card and pay for everything. You don't have to stand in line. It's all done from a stool where you're sitting. You can eat when you're done. You get up, you walk away. It cleans itself. It's so interesting as to where we're going, but then we keep hearing people say, well, this new generation doesn't know anything about customer service and they don't know how to work a full day on a job. Well, sooner rather than later, I don't even know if that's going to be necessary. There's going to have to be a different way that they're indoctrinated into the workforce, because I don't know if those jobs that we used to get right after college will be available to them.
Well, I know the younger demographics work habits and ethics on a job are far different than what our work habits and ethics and doing things a certain way have been. And I don't know if that's the way we were raised. I don't know if that's the way society taught us. But, I currently work in a situation where it's mixed ages. And, I just think it's a complete difference. And I'm not just even talking about my personal coworkers, but the entire environment
Mhm.
that I'm in. It's quite interesting. I mean, just some of the outfits that people wear to work. I'll be like, Delta Airlines recently had to tell people coming for a flight attendant interview Please make sure you wear proper underwear. Please do not be chewing gum, and please do not curse during your interview. Who does that? Who does that? Sharon, you look like you lost. Tell me, help me with that. Sharon, I mean, you even work with our young people in the
You
school system.
know, you know what? Yes, I got, previously I worked in the healthcare field, and I have to say I was mortified. Maybe because again, um, I'm from a different place. I'll be 54 this year. And I can say I'll give you an example, when I was at the county, people came to work with they look like house shoes, or that was unheard of in my day. I'm used to the stockings, or where the dress or the skirt had to be below the knee. Uh, it's
You could
it's
listen.
difference.
You
I guess
couldn't
it's a
wear a
different. It's an
skirt
age
without a
difference.
slip. You couldn't wear a skirt without a slip.
Yes. So, and
You understand me?
I'm
Right.
still that person, because I feel like I see my mother looking like, wait a minute.
Where you going?
Where
But that
you
day is
going? Like,
gone.
right. Where you going? Right. Where you going? But
Well,
then, okay,
where I
Sharon,
work,
do women still wear pantyhose and stockings?
I doubt it.
I do. Listen, I do, but I have seen, like I said, you could tell the different generations, because of course, working, you see all the different generations. But I think that's the part that is missing, is that I think our generation has the class, or the I think we took pride in it. I would have never had leggings on, or
But
it's a place for that, I think.
so
So
much,
it's a
so
lot
much.
more lax.
I was just going to say, so much happened in the workplace where even when you want to correct people or offer young people some wisdom on how they should present themselves, it's automatically something that they can take to HR. So you now have a whole bunch of people that won't even comment on, maybe you should glance in the mirror before you come out. That may not be the best version of you. If you say it's going to go to HR, you're shaming the person for their body, you're shaming them for this, that, and the other. But I also feel that, again, it was the time. When we went out of the door, we represented our parents. So I feel you held your head high when that representation was received well by other people in the workplace. Oh, you look nice. Whoa, that really looks good. Now, when you see people come in, I mean, where I work, they have to keep constantly showing the video on how to dress. Every couple of months, the darn thing pops up in the email again for people to watch, because the few people that actually go in, and it's not many, so there's a small group that they're talking to, but they can't get them to wear what's appropriate in a business setting because they don't know.
I just can't imagine you don't know what
I'm
to
just gonna go
wear.
with Dr. Phil.
Right. Go ahead, Sharon.
I'm just gonna give you an example. I was gonna just give you an example. This person was doing a presentation and had on a crop top with her stomach out. I you like, how
Wait, Sharon, she had on a what?
a crop top. I mean, her whole stomach out. You can see the tattoo. I just said, this is a different generation.
It is.
This is a
It
different
is.
generation. Now, this is business, corporate.
Right.
So,
That's what I'm saying.
it's a difference. I think it's a time and a place. I think it's a time and a place. I think it's a time and a
So
place.
I'm gonna
And I
tell
and
you
I don't
how
think,
far.
you're not
Oh,
trying to shame or body shame. I just think it's a time and a place.
No, but you can't offer people that wisdom. I mean, when we were coming up, somebody could tell you, they could gently tell you something. Heck, I worked at a place where the secretary would
mhm.
go around and tell the women that their kitchen needed to be touched up. Now
Oh,
imagine
absolutely.
imagine today if somebody did that. Oh my God, it would be on the news.
All right, well, Dion Nicole Smith. Hey, Dion, glad you're here. She said, decades ago, I remember the Chicago White Sox changing the dress code due to interns dressing inappropriately, and that was decades
I
ago.
agree.
And you're right. Listen, you're right, Philip. I know of several places where if your hair wasn't quite right, somebody would pull you to the side and tell you your hair wasn't quite right. Now, I'm gonna take you guys way back. When I was a flight attendant, there was no earrings to be worn. I had to remove my earrings and only have them on layovers. And when I was on my personal time, there was no way in the world I could have my nails painted at that time. When I was a flight attendant, you had to be a boy or a girl. They didn't care how beautiful you were. If your birth certificate did not say boy, or if your birth certificate did not say girl, you could not be a flight attendant. Now, you can be a flight attendant no matter who you are, what you are. There was a time when you couldn't even be a certain weight to be a flight attendant. And so times changed, and I'm glad times have changed because it's all about accepting people for who they are and where they are.
Mhm.
But I just think certain things are just inappropriate.
Well, the
I don't know. I don't. Real quick, everybody, our domestic violence guest had an issue this evening, so she won't be joining us. So we will continue the show with Philip and Sharon, who's our very special guest co-host tonight. For those of you all that are just joining us, welcome to the Tuesday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show, or the weekly edition. We're here every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to just give you guys something to talk about, some entertainment, keep you up on top and current news stories. The show is now entitled Love Hurts. So it's the Real Chat Daddy with Dr. Philip. That's the man sitting next to me. And we're going to talk about love issues. Next week, the entire show is about relationships, sex, love, all of that. Tonight was domestic violence, as well as things you can do to recalibrate yourself, to start thinking about the new year. And our guest down there, the one and only Miss Sharon Rose, is going to do a presentation before the show is over tonight. So we're basically talking about hot topics right now. All right. So anything else on people looking a mess, acting a mess, and don't give a damn? Anything else?
I just think things are just a little bit out of balance. And maybe as we begin to come back out from this COVID 5 years and people begin to see themselves and see other people, then maybe some growth, there can be some change, and we can go back a little bit more in the other direction. Because, like Sharon said, I have seen some crop tops, and that's okay. There's a time and a place, but also not every person should come out with a crop top on in a multi-million dollar corporation talking about they want to lead a presentation. But right now, society is saying that's okay. But I do believe that will begin to change as we begin to come back out into the workplace, the new workplace again.
Well, I work with college students during the day. So they show up to work in Daisy Dukes. They show up to work in crop tops and them shorts that say baby on the back of them. And I'm just like, wow. And then, anybody that's hiring Art, Mr. Art? Yeah, but you got to get your shit together. I just believe in putting on clothes. I think putting on clothes, getting dressed, and making yourself look good is all a part of your overall makeup for the day. You know what I'm saying? I look forward to getting dressed.
But it's the definition of looks good. See, we're using a definition that's based on the moral fiber of our family and parents and our legacy. They're using what looks good is something that they're finding on TikTok, social media, and various other places, where the one person may look good, but it's not necessarily everybody that tries that look will they look good.
Which is true. Every look is not for everybody. All right, let's continue on with hot topics. Here we are 3 weeks away from the presidential election. As you guys all know, our current vice president is running for the top office of president. And then I was told to make sure I say her name correctly. Kamala, correct? Kamala Harris, not Kamala, but it's Kamala Harris. and our former president, number what was he? Number whatever, Mr. Donald J. Trump. So 3 weeks, we all head to the polls to vote. Breaking news that Vice President Kamala Harris joined Charlemagne the God on his weekly radio show. They recorded the show today. It'll air this coming weekend. Charlemagne the God has 8 million plus listeners, which is exclusively on iHeartRadio. And the vice president actually took questions from people that were already sent in, that type of thing. And so her biggest thing now is to help African American men to get income, wealth, business loans, all of that, which I'm hoping it really does work, because I am one and could really use a boost to continue what I love to do versus having to do other things. And so, what do you all think about this? I think that's big that she went on Charlemagne the God, to talk with him, because he does have a huge following, and he is that demographic that's most resistant to voting for a black female woman, and I shouldn't say she's black, multiracial woman in this day and age. What do you think, Sharon? Hello, you there?
I think right now, yeah, can you hear me? I think
Yeah, it's delayed.
most African Americans are looking to see, and I think that's going to be the most important thing right now, is how will that apply to them in their life right now? What will what will that vote do for them, as far as jobs, as far as economy, as far as housing, as far as food, far as what would that look like for them? So whoever is going to get in office, I think the minorities are looking at the impact, or how would that look to them,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
what
I,
will that
I
change in
agree.
their daily life.
Dr. Phillip, you said what now?
I agree. And I think that the vice president needs to come out and be a bit more relatable to that demographic, because even though Trump is not necessarily the candidate that people might imagine him to be, he has a better way of addressing people who are marginalized. Now, not that he's going to do what he says he's going to do, but he understands the verbiage, what he needs to say, how to resonate with what they're going through. And I think that now that she sees, this is just an opportunity. This is how I look at it. It's an opportunity for her to solidify a different voting bloc, for her to make sure that she's heard. And as Sharon said, and now it's time, people want to see something happen. We've been talking about all this stuff again for decades, and not much has changed. Or as they say, ain't nothing changed.
Ain't nothing
When
changed. Ain't nothing going on but
she
the rent.
she needs to make sure that when she delivers this message and it's played, in this radio show, and she gets the buy-in that I think she's looking for, because that's a huge audience.
It
She
is.
better make sure that when she's elected into office, she won't be given an opportunity like Trump. She's going to need to follow through and really make some good, interesting things happen for people who have been overlooked for far too long.
Mm-hmm. I tell you this much. This has been the quietest political season
Hmm.
in a long time. And when I say that, I mean, despite the news clips we hear where he might say something negative and out of pocket about her, we've not seen the vicious, crazy commercials. Now, I don't want to speak too soon, because they could
Hmm.
start as early as next week, but it has been a very quiet campaign, other than the several assassination attempts on the
Right.
former president, which I'm still not understanding those, and just a lot of the back and forth. This has really been a very quiet political season. What do you all think about that?
Litigation. Everybody is afraid that the networks are afraid that their licenses will be attacked. The lawyers that he used to hire that would just come out and say anything are looking at poor Rudy Giuliani and how he's been basically stripped of all his power to practice. So fear will force you to do more of the right thing than just go along, to get along.
Right, right. Okay, all right. Well, with that being said, we got through hot topics tonight. That was really great. I want to move on to our discussion this evening. We were originally supposed to talk about domestic violence. Our guest wasn't able to join us, but Sharon is here tonight because we also want to talk about the fact that greatness is a choice. If you so choose to be great, now more than ever is a perfect time for you to start working on that greatness. As I said before, we're just 71 days away from Christmas. And so now is a perfect time to start recalibrating your spirit, your mind, your body to think about things that you need to move forward. Sharon, let's talk about your book first. The first book that I really enjoy, and I often go back to that book many different times. And let's talk about that one, and then we'll come forward to your other book. Greatness is a choice, shifting reflections, lessons, and legacies. What inspired you to write that book?
So again, what inspired me to write that book was the fact that my mother passed unexpectedly. I mean, totally unexpectedly. And so from that, I discovered, you know what? We really need to pass on our legacies. We really need to address our health. We really need to be proactive. And since I couldn't do anything I felt like let me pass on some of the lessons that I gained from working in the healthcare field to help somebody else
Mm.
so they won't experience the loss that I did. And so I tried to share that information because, again, me and Philip, we both worked before a major MCO,
Mhm.
and I learned a lot when I worked at that place on how to do what they call disease management and
Mm.
how to take certain steps to increase your health, improve your health, maintain your health. And I wanted to share that information freely. And so I wanted to share that information so that it help.
You're breaking up really bad. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you now. I don't know what it is. I don't know why is it doing that.
Are you
Should
on
I
a
go
computer
out
or
and
on your
come back
phone?
in?
Huh?
I'm on the computer. I'm on the
Oh,
computer.
okay. It may
I'm
be
on my
something with your,
computer.
it may be something with your Wi-Fi because you're delayed. Can you hear us? We're gonna let her get that
I
situation
can
to.
hear you.
Oh, okay,
Some
okay.
I
Then
don't know
go.
why it seemed like
That's
it's
okay. All right. So let's talk. Let's go through these tips you want to share tonight with everybody. Hello.
okay. So one some of the tips that I wanted to share is one, I think it's so important that you meet a healthy diet, and that it's important to eat a healthy diet and aim to
Okay. Wait.
reduce
Wait.
processed
So
food, lower your
hold
sugar
on.
consumption.
Hold on. We didn't hear the first tip because you got cut off. Hello.
Yeah.
So wait. What was the
You know
first
what?
tip?
Should I just go out and try to come back in? I don't know. I'm
Well,
on the computer. I don't know what happened.
we're in the middle of the show. What was the first tip again?
Okay, so the first tip is I think you should meet with your primary care
We still
doctor annually.
Okay, so the first tip is that you should meet with your primary care doctor annually. I agree with that 100%. I think you should also see your primary care doctor maybe twice a year because things can change during that time period. The first tip is important, Dr. Phillip. What do you think about that too?
I agree with that. I think you should always, I believe the first of the year is definitely an opportunity to reset. So, there are other times when you could do it, but I think what's great about January is it's an opportunity to have everything refreshed. So, make an appointment now to see your PCP in January. In addition to that, when you see your PCP, a lot of them are going to do kind of mini checks for depression and anxiety and things like that. And be sure to explore with your PCP any of the emotional challenges that you've gone through in the last year. Let him talk to you and let him hear what you have to say to see if there are any signs of anxiety or depression that might need to be treated by someone that specializes in that area. If you look out for your mental health as well as your physical health at the beginning of the year, that's a great way to kick the year off and lead to success in so many other areas.
Well, now something I want to remind everybody as well too. If you have flexible spending accounts on your job, make sure you use all that money up this year for things that you may have or need or want. So I tell people, I don't know if I'd even wait to January to schedule those
Mm,
appointments. I would probably get those appointments in within the next 2 to 3 months max. You know what I'm saying? To definitely do that. All right, Sharon, what's the next step you told us to take?
And okay, so the next step I would say is complete yearly screenings and exams that your doctor recommends. So whatever your doctor, as far as that follow up from that exam, make sure you follow up based on your age, what recommended. So let's just say if you're over 50, it might be a mammogram. If it's a male, it might be the prostate exam. But whatever age it is, your doctor is going to give you a list of exams and screenings that you need to do. Follow up because a lot of times when people pass, especially I would like to say with cancer, it is because they come forward and they come at the stage where it's too late to do something. So if you
Mhm.
make it a habit of doing your annual exam and actually doing the recommended screenings and exams, you can prolong and
yes,
possibly save a
Very
life.
good. I agree
That's
with
what I
you on
think.
that as well too. Prevention is best. Prevention
yes.
is key. All right, Sharon, what's the next tip you want to share?
And going right along with that, I would say the next one would be is to monitor your diet, water. I think that's very important because a lot of people don't realize they intake a lot of their calories. And so making sure you phone so you can make sure you pay attention to that.
Okay, very good. And let's do one last tip before we wrap up tonight's show.
Okay, I would say strive to eat a healthy diet. That's the most important one. You want to reduce processed sugar. Um, you want to lower your processed sugar intake. And then I would also say you want to also have you a support system. I call it your resiliency plan because really, if you have supportive people that's positive in your life, that's going to make a huge difference. That's
It
going to
will.
give you the wherewithal that when you go through trying times and an accountability partner. And I think that's so important into your overall wellness.
Very good. I couldn't agree with you more on that. Dr. Phillip, what do you want to say about that?
I will say that the end of the year is a good time to really take stock of your life and things that have worked and things that where there's an opportunity for improvement and not to be afraid to alter them. If you need to remove some people, some places, and some things for a healthier new year, sometimes the season has come for things to change, and don't be afraid of the change. I
I
think,
think it's so important too. If a
yeah,
person is ever in a crisis,
Okay. All right. Sharon, in
if a
closing, what
person
would you
is ever
like
in
to
a
say?
crisis, I think it's if a person is ever in a crisis, I would suggest write down the number 988 because they can call or they can text and they will get supportive information. Also, again, to reach out to their primary care doctor. They also have resources where they could do, they could also do that PHQ-9. They can let them give them some resources if they are experiencing anxiety, depression, or any of those behavior health issues. So really, your doctor and taking care of it, it can stem right from going to see your primary care doctor. They can refer you to in the right direction of where you can go. So I think a lot of people are not aware the doctor could be that resourceful.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, Sharon, how can we get your books, find out more about following you, all that great stuff? Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, we just want to thank you so very
They're
much. Can you
available on Amazon.
go ahead?
I was going to say they're available on Amazon.com, and it's you just type up my name and it'll pop right up.
Okay. All right. Very good. Dr. Phillip, anything you want to say in closing tonight before we run?
Just one brief thing: make sure that your life is balanced: community, love, affection, and productivity. And if you can keep those things as close to being balanced as possible, it'll go a long way to help improve your mental health.
I couldn't agree more. That's very beautiful. That's a great way to say that. We've come to the end of yet another show. I apologize on our guest that was supposed to have been here for domestic violence this evening. Apologize for the technical difficulties we've had tonight. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed tonight's show. We'll be back next week with another great show. The Real Chat Daddy Show with Dr. Phillip. Love Hurts. Next week will all be about relationships. All right.
Right.
Thank you guys so very much for tuning in tonight. Sharon, we appreciate you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us this evening.
Thank, thank you so much.
Okay, then have a beautiful evening. We'll talk to you guys later. Thank you all so much for a wonderful show, and we're out.
Good night.